Hello, my name is Wendy Bird, and I'm the president of the Modesto-Stanislaus NAACP. On behalf of the NAACP, which stands for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and our co-sponsor, the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union of Northern California, Stanislaus County, I welcome you to our 2020 Mayoral Candidates Forum. The mayor of any city is an important position. His or her duties are very significant. The mayor recommends policies. The mayor prepares and delivers a budget, a proposed budget. The mayor prioritizes what's important. And in times of emergencies, the mayor provides leadership. The mayor assists with the work of the city council, and in some cases, the mayor even hires staff. The mayor, along with the city council, conducts performance appraisals and evaluations on some positions. And if a vacancy occurs with the city manager's position, it's the mayor that can nominate and appoint someone to be considered for that position. The mayor is the official head and provides direction for the city. This is a 4-year term position, and every 4 years, the citizens will decide who will they entrust this incredible responsibility to. I want to thank all 9 candidates for participating in the forum, but most of all, I want to thank the viewers for taking the time to vet the candidates. This position is loaded with influence and responsibilities, candidates, so it's important for the citizens to know where you stand on various issues and what to expect should you get elected or re-elected. Before I turn the floor over to your moderator, who is also the vice president of the NAACP, Mr. John Griffin, I want to remind everyone listening that the NAACP and the ACLU are nonpartisan organizations. We're not here to advocate for or against any particular candidate. We simply want to provide a platform for the candidates to share their views with the public. And to the public, your vote is a powerful tool, and you become empowered only when you use it. Thank you, Angelo Dallas and your Political Action Committee for organizing this event. Good luck to all the candidates. The next voice you hear will be that of our moderator, Vice President John Griffin. Thank you.
Thank you. As you heard, hello to all, and to all a good day. Again, my name is John Griffin, and I am the Vice President for the NAACP 1048 Stanislaus. So let's get right to business here. There are some rules that we need to go over before we get started. Understand that for our opening remarks, you have 1.5 minutes. Our timer, Alex, you will see her with colored cards in the screen, so be aware of that. The colored cards, the way that it works is green means, of course, go. And at that time, you'll have 1.5 minutes to speak. When you see the yellow card come up, that means you have 15 seconds left, and red means stop. So that you don't get embarrassed, of course, after the red, you will be muted. So we just want to make sure that you stay in the focus of the 1.5 minutes. Also for the closing remarks, it will be 1.5 minutes as well. And for the actual questions, it'll be 1.5 minutes. So there will be 10 questions, or actually, I believe it's 11 questions in all. So each and every one of you will get the opportunity to answer the questions. And I will call out everyone's name because I have a certain order that I'll be going on to get the answer. So with no further ado, let's get right to business. And we'll start with the first question. And actually, we'll start with the open remarks, and we'll start with Christy IU.
Is that because I have an A for a last name? And that means Sue gets to be Z. We got to make jokes. So I am excited to have the opportunity to run for mayor in the literal land of opportunity. It's been an interesting 5 years. We've had many things that have occurred over that time frame, and lots of struggles, lots of challenges. But I'm here to tell you that the next 5 years is going to be a struggle. It is not going to be fun to be mayor in the city of Modesto. And the reason that I am so concerned is because of our financial situation, COVID-19, the health and welfare of our community. In our last fiscal budget, we had to close a $9.8 million gap with PERS, with our insurance crisis that we've had, and also with the economic fallout that this is. So in 2008 was the worst housing crisis ever. We have struggled for 10 years to get through that. The last 2 years have been kind of stable, and now this. So with my 5 years of experience being on the 100-day budget review committee, being the vice mayor, I am ready to hit the ground running. There will not be a 2-year learn how everything works cycle. I am ready to go and ready to make those difficult decisions for the betterment of everyone in our community. I think that it's important to consider the needs of South Modesto, West Modesto, North Modesto, East Modesto, everybody from every walk of life, those with socioeconomic challenges, those that don't. These are going to be tough times with tough decisions, and I am ready to make those decisions as hard as it's going to be.
All righty, thank you. Moving right along, we move to Ted Brandvold. You have the floor.
I'm unmuted now. Yeah, I did it to myself. So. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure being here, and I want to thank the NAACP for their service to our community in events like this, and also in the event that they did for our city auditor town hall meeting. It was an amazing event. It gave us a lot of information in regards to what we need in our new auditor for the city. I also appreciate the ACLU involvement in this evening's forum. I believe in Modesto, and I believe in the people of Modesto. We do have a lot of things to get through. I've been the mayor through 5 very difficult years, and we've gotten through and really done a good job with the help of our administration and council there. Our great city is tremendously a diverse community of people that enjoy many different heritages and beliefs. And you know, by continuing to understand and striving to know our neighbors, I believe that we can all work together and continue Modesto's long history of acceptance and tolerance and just buckling down and getting things done. We are a community of understanding, collaboration, and compassion. I'm honored to have been the mayor of Modesto for the last 5 years. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Ted. Moving right along, we'll move to Rick Countryman.
Yeah, hey, thanks for letting me be a part of this. My name is Rick Countryman. I was born and raised right here in Modesto. My wife's from Modesto. My kids all are raised here. I love this city deeply. For the last 40 years, my lane has been serving at Big Valley Grace. Thousands and thousands of people are members, 850 students in our school, 150 plus employees, a $12 million budget that I oversee and lead. We've been involved as a church over on the west side and the airport district for years and years and years with manpower and a lot of shekels. And that's kind of been my lane for 40 years. And now I just want to expand my leadership to the entire city. I just read this great quote from Shirley Chisholm. And as you know, she was the first Black elected congresswoman from New York back in the late 60s. And she actually ran for president in '72. And she said this, she said, if you aren't given a seat at the table, then bring your own seat. And I want you to know that if you elect me as mayor, if I'm elected as mayor, you'll never have to bring your own seat. You'll always have a seat at the table.
All righty, moving right along. Next, we have Naramson Goriel.
I'm a first-generation Assyrian American that's dedicated to improving the lives of everyone who calls Modesto home. I currently serve as a commissioner on the City of Modesto's Board of Zoning and Adjustment and Landmark Preservation Commission, which tackles citywide needs regarding the health, safety, and aesthetics of property use within city limits. As a community organizer and city commissioner, I have worked with members of our community to improve our quality of life, to promote public safety, civic engagement, and innovative ideas to tackle Modesto's most serious problems. As our next mayor, I'll work with members of our community to cut red tape for small businesses, create more good-paying jobs, address our affordable housing shortage, combat rising homelessness, and improve our public safety. Unlike our current leadership at City Hall that only listens to special interests, I will be accountable and accessible to all. I have a proven track record of delivering results. The residents of Modesto deserve more than empty rhetoric and false promises. By working together and putting people first, we can make Modesto a more desirable place to call home.
All righty, thank you. Moving right along, next we have Doug Ridenauer. Doug, you are muted.
Thank you. I would like to thank the NAACP and the ACLU for hosting tonight's Zoom forum. It couldn't be more important that we have an opportunity to distinguish ourselves, our accomplishments, and yes, some of our shortcomings to as wide of an audience as possible. My name is Doug Ridenauer, and I have spent a lifetime working to improve Modesto. I've been a small business owner, an EMT, a police officer, a city council member, but most importantly, I've spent the last 46 years being a listener and a coalition builder. While it seems over the last several years, Modesto residents have witnessed a fractured city council, there has been a contingent of us that have hardworking and try to overcome roadblocks and move the dial towards the positive. This council has accomplished this term what our predecessors could not do for decades. Still, we can do a better job. I can do a better job. The council can do better, and the community can do better. Between the pandemic and the fragmented social relations, the lingering fiscal issues, we have a lot to tackle. Navigating these waters will take a compromise, experience, and a proven track record. I look forward to answering your questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And now we go to Aaron Tenorio. So right now, we're gonna go ahead and move to the questions. And so I'm going to start with, again, Christy Ayu. And,
sorry, excuse me, I was not able to do my opening statement.
oh, okay, I'm so sorry.
This is Suze Wallen.
Okay. Oh, we don't have you on the list here. Okay. Now I got you. I'm so sorry about that. Okay.
That's all right.
You got the floor.
All right. Thank you to the NAACP and the ACLU for hosting this forum this evening. I'm Suze Wallen, and I'm running for mayor because I believe I am uniquely qualified to lead Modesto during these challenging times. I spent over 40 years working as an emergency room nurse, and I spent 8 years on the Modesto City Schools Board of Education. I was first elected during the Great Recession and was able to work collaboratively with teachers, parents, and administration to make tough decisions to get us through those times. We made it through that recession and we increased graduation rates. This pandemic has clearly shown how important it is to have a unified, consistent message from our leaders. As a healthcare professional, I understand how our hospitals and providers are being impacted. As a former school board member and a mother to 6 children, I know what parents and students are going through as our children work through distance learning. We need to work together and have consistent, steady leadership to get our students back in school and our economy going again. The city of Modesto has not benefited from the discord that we have seen on the city council, and I want to work hard to find common ground and a productive path forward for Modesto. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. All righty, we have all of the opening remarks done, and we're going to move on to the next section here, which will be the actual questions. Again, we will start with Christy Ayu, and here is question number 1. And of course, everyone will get an opportunity to answer this same question. I'll call your name when it's, you know, when Christy is done, then I will call who's next, and so on and so on. Okay, here we go with the first question. If elected, what do you think is your role in the response to COVID-19's effect on the homeless and at-risk families in our community? Christy, you are muted.
All right. As a leader in our community, it is important to recognize that I'm a leader and that decisions need to be made for the health and welfare of every single member of our community. And in doing so, I would work directly with the public health doctor, talk with our CEO, and give direction that makes some sense and that is based in science. I think most people know that I have a funeral home, that I am the managing partner of Franklin and Downs. I can tell you at this time that most everyone that is here has COVID-19. That's based in science, that's based in fact, and my response would be to be educated on the topics and to be willing to make difficult decisions for the health, welfare, and benefit of every member of our community. We can't just focus on what's going on over here or what's going on over there. It's like making the best decision for most of the people all of the time.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
Next one on the floor with the same question will be directed to Ted Brandvold.
Thank you. Well, having the position of mayor and being in this on the forefront, you know, it's guiding this city, guiding the and working with the council to make sure that we're going in a direction that in the best direction that we possibly can to address COVID-19. Through the city manager, we've been working together on a lot of the action that has been taken. Initially, at the forefront of COVID-19, I brought forward the emergency declaration. So immediately, even before the governor passed their emergency declaration, and that was so that we could recoup our cost associated with dealing with this. And so we were in there and got that taken care of right away to cover the cost. Also looked at what we could do to mitigate some of the harm and some of the damage that would be done to some of our businesses and people that would be losing their jobs. So that's critical. We've put into effect some assistance for some of our businesses here. I've also been embedded in the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, been a part of that, meeting regularly and in discussion with the county and all the other mayors. So thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Ted. We now go to Rick Countryman.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I think the greatest thing that a leader can do, especially a mayor, obviously a mayor or a city council can't magically get rid of homelessness or COVID-19. But what the mayor ought to do is he's the mouthpiece for the city. He's the leader of the city. And somehow the mouthpiece, the leader of the city, needs to be communicating with the citizens. I know in my little lane, my little world at the church, literally every day, I sent out a video to 5,000 to 6,000 people in our church just asking questions. How are you doing? What do you need? What's going on? Do groceries need to be delivered to your house? What's happening? I was constantly communicating with the people in my little sphere. And I think that as the mayor needs to be somebody who's communicating literally daily with the people. Obviously, he's talking to the public health officials, the city manager. He's talking to all of those people, the stakeholders, if you will. But the number one thing that the mayor's got to do that I would have been doing is just communicating all the time with the citizens.
Thank you, Rick. Moving on to Naramson Goriel.
Mr. Griffin, can you please repeat the question? I kind of forgot the whole.
No problem. And any time that anyone needs me to repeat the question, feel free to just let me know. So the question is, if elected, what do you think is your role in the response to COVID-19's effect on the homeless and at-risk families in our community?
Yeah, that's a great question. First off, as mayor, I would stress the need for PPEs for every essential worker, because over 60% of the COVID-19 cases in our county are in Latino areas on the south side and west side, which is concerning. Furthermore, I would have flyers and public service announcements that are considered to be qualified by the CDC and pass them around everywhere to the people and to businesses and more at-risk communities as well. We're in that region. You know, COVID-19 has intensified the catastrophic housing crisis in our town. Our homeless crisis is rooted in decades of long failure to plan, invest, and sustain affordable housing, and the lack of enthusiasm from our public officials indicates that we need a paradigm shift immediately, because homeless people cannot get shelter in from COVID if they don't have a home. So we need to really focus on housing first programs that really help the homeless. And to help the at-risk population, we need to be very secure and have PPEs, enough PPEs to take care of them and our essential workers. Because if we don't take care of our essential workers, the surge and the spread will just continue. And honestly, as the mayor, I would not have prematurely and irresponsibly opened up the businesses early, because after that, that's when we saw the surge of cases. That's a fact.
Thank you, Naramson. Now moving on, next we have Doug Ridenauer.
Thank you. One of the difficult things that many folks struggle with city government and county government is the funding of where the funds come from our citizens. And the city of Modesto is not the primary health care person of the county. It's the county of Stanislaus. And they receive the primary funds from the state and federal government. And so as mayor, the thing that we need to make sure is make sure that we represent our city in a meaningful way to where we can receive those funds appropriately that the county and the state and the federal government provide. One of the things that we need to do, and we did do, and I think we did a pretty good job, is identifying the homeless situation in last September when the Supreme Court indicated that if there was not a place to provide for the homelessness, then we're going to have to do that. We're not going to be able to enforce our homelessness municipal codes. And so we handled that by establishing the Beard Brook, and we realized early on that was a pretty overwhelming decision, and it created some of the issues that you're asking tonight. Those are things that we have to directly be responsible for, but we have to work with the county who funds those positions. So the other thing that the county needs to do is also work diligently with our staff, the city manager. And the leader, the mayor, needs to be prepared to make sure that he or she is keeping the council fully updated.
All righty, Doug. Hate to cut you off, but your time is up. So right now we're going to go ahead and move to Sue.
Thank you. I was fortunate enough to be able to serve on the county Focus on Prevention Council on Homelessness. And I think that we've made some progress there. I'm grateful for the housing that has been provided, especially during COVID-19. I hope to continue in that pattern of collaboration and finding solutions. This housing must continue in an environment where there is availability of physical distancing, face coverings provided, and hand washing availability for our houseless people. We need to have consistent messaging from our leaders. I cannot emphasize how important that is, especially in the midst of this public health crisis. It's important to work collaboratively with county, state, and the federal government to bring resources to our community so that we can continue to house all people in a safe environment during COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And so we're going to start with Ted Brandvold. And the question is, how will you contribute to creating economic development? And what is your plan to attract new businesses and manufacturing to Modesto to improve the availability of jobs?
Actually, jobs will come. I believe that our best source of jobs is going to be from the ACE train connection that we're going to have with the Silicon Valley. I think we need to be in a position of being aggressively pursuing satellite businesses from the technology center in the Silicon Valley. They're locating offices in our city here. If we're not aggressively pursuing the businesses relocating to Modesto here or locating satellites to Modesto, we're going to become even more of a housing or a bedroom community than we are. And so we will have a huge amount of ability here. I've been working with the San Jose mayor in discussion with him about a lot of his businesses needing additional space, and they've outgrown their facilities that they're in, and working together actually for him to be referring some businesses to our city and helping build our job base and workforce. So.
All righty, thank you, Ted. Moving next question, or the same question, to Rick Countryman.
Yeah, what the mayor said about the ACE train connection is huge. I mean, that's going to be a huge component to bringing jobs here. But also there has to be the person, and it's the mayor who is the spokesperson for the city. When you can go over to Silicon Valley, you can go to these places and you can do all that you can to try to get them to build their widgets here or just move their offices here or whatever, but you got to have the leadership to pull that off. And I think that's what's lacking. I think Modesto is an incredible place that has incredible opportunities for a lot of these businesses to come here, build their widgets, bring their offices here, so that our people don't have to get on the freeway and travel an hour each way. But once again, it just comes back to leadership. Somebody who can communicate to all of these other places, whether it's Silicon Valley or wherever it might be, why you should come here, the benefits of coming here, the beauty about this city called Modesto. So for me, it once again comes just back down to leadership and being able to communicate.
Thank you, Rick. All righty, moving right along.
Is it working now?
Next, the same question to Naramson.
Is it working now? No?
Yeah, Mr. Griffin, can you repeat the question again?
You bet. The question is how will you contribute to creating economic development, and what is your plan to attract new businesses and manufacturing to Modesto to improve the availability of jobs?
Sure. Economic innovation for Modesto is vital because innovation will breed a resilient economy that can withstand stressful times and be prosperous simultaneously. We need more employment opportunities with high-paying union jobs that are in demand by the industries in the Central Valley. Begging San Jose and relying on an ACE train for people to do a reverse commute is not going to happen. So we need to have more industries based in ag tech, small retail services that are catered to transit, and also cannabis. It's a huge industry right now. It's the #1 cash crop in California, and we need to start manufacturing and distributing hemp products because that's going to be popular and replace plastic in the future. Also, we can have more project labor agreements that give union jobs to the local residents of Modesto so they can spend their money in Modesto themselves and increase tax revenue, which is down because there's no retail activity in downtown Modesto. And I'll also focus on downtown because a vibrant downtown is a living symbol of our community's economic health, history, and quality of life. And right now, our downtown is not utilized properly. We have people that work day and night to increase its viability and vibrancy, but it doesn't happen. We need better programming. We need better retail and entertainment downtown. We need better office space that uses commercial units where residents can stay in their house and stay in their office. And we also need more residential units to increase downtown's prosperity. If we build downtown, we're building
All
the
righty,
economy.
Naramson, I'm sorry, but your time is up. All righty, moving right along with the same question, we will move to Doug.
Thank you very much. The very first thing that we need in contributing to the economic development and opportunities in businesses is that we have to, as a council, we need to have a vision. And that should occur at the very beginning of any term. A vision will carry you through, just like we did last Tuesday night, of what we should have done a number of years ago. Why is that important? Because it's not just one person going and trying to make Modesto better, to improve our economy and bring businesses here. A leadership is the entire council. And so a vision is critical. And one of the things that's critical in our vision is making sure, like we just did in the downtown master plan, is now we have a plan that we can move forward, that people can look and say for 10, 15, 20 years ahead, this is what the city has decided to move forward on, and now they can plan. Now they know what the city wants to do. That's what the direction we want to go. And the comprehensive plan is the second most critical part of trying to improve our economy. Once that's completed in the next 2 to 3 years, we will be able to say next 50 years, this is kind of where Modesto is going. And now we can encompass all those businesses, the innovation that's going to be necessary, but it'll be a plan that's desirable based on the leadership. Thank you.
All righty, thank you, Doug. So same question to Sue.
Thank you. Economic development is one of my top priorities, and we need more good paying jobs. We need to have sustainable wages that will allow people to raise a family and live here. We don't have that right now. Rent prices are incredibly high, and we see people really struggling, especially now that the pandemic has caused soaring unemployment. So this is a really important piece of leadership in Modesto. This is an opportune time to pull people from urban areas to our local community to live and to work. I would be open to looking at anyone coming here, manufacturing, all types of economic development, and evaluating it and seeing what people want. We are not rivals in economic development with Stanislaus County or with other cities. We want to be partners and not rivals. People approach me often and they're just waiting and eager to help Modesto move forward economically.
All righty. Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome.
And now same question to Christy.
Thank you for the opportunity to answer this question. You can hear me? Great. Okay, so I have a little saying, adaptability equals survivability. We need to make the best decisions during this process that we have coming up over the next 5 years. We need to seek out and support innovators by listening to great ideas and engaging with people that have great ideas for local economy. And when I'm thinking about this, you have to try the small ideas to get to the big ones. And doing nothing means nothing will happen. How about a Shark Tank for Modesto? How about we get some investors involved? We do micro loans to support great ideas. I mean, there's all kinds of people with amazing ideas that just need a little bit of a lift up. And then they can go support themselves and their families and potentially hire more people within our community. We also need to be a partner with the county, our neighboring cities, and our business community, nonprofits, and everybody. And our people who are currently, our business partners who are currently struggling, what do they need from us to make their life a little bit easier? I think that our economic drivers are our current employers. They're our current business owners. They need to be able to pull up to City Hall with a green light go, like a light goes off.
All righty. Thank you, Christy. Your time is up. All righty. So now we have a new question, and we're going to start off with Rick Countryman. The question is, youth services have been rapidly declining in programs and services over the past few years.
Yeah.
What will you do as mayor to restore the critical programs and services dedicated to serving our future, our youth? What can you do to increase summer jobs within the city for youth?
Yeah, great question. You know, there's only a certain amount of shekels available to invest in things. And so certainly the mayor has to look at that pile of money and say, how do we allocate it and how much of it goes to youth services or whatever. So this is where you gotta get all the stakeholders involved. You have to bring together the private sector. You have to bring together people to say, hey, look, the government can't be the one that solves all the problems, especially as it relates to all these youth services. And I know, because I work with a number of people just in my lane, the church, who are more than happy. They are investing in youth. They are investing a lot of their own money, their own resources, whether it's from their personal resources or their company resources in helping youth, the services that is provided to youth. So I think you got to bring together the public and the private and say, hey, look, here are some of the needs that are out there, and we just got to meet them together.
All righty. Thank you, Rick. Same question goes to Ramson.
And once again, Mr. Griffin, can you repeat the question, please?
Not a problem, you bet. The question is, youth services have been rapidly declining in programs and services over the past few years. What will you do as mayor to restore the critical programs and services dedicated to serving our future, our youth? What can you do to increase summer jobs within the city for youth?
Well, first thing I would do, Mr. Griffin, can you hear me?
Yes.
First thing I would do is I would enhance the capabilities of the Modesto Children's Museum, because that would be a great place to start, is to enhance what the Children's Museum represents, which means to increase the imagination and the intellectual ability of our future. Also, we would make it in downtown Modesto and would be a vibrant catalyst for their future. On top of that, I would increase the capacity of the Boys and Girls Club. I know the Modesto Nuts are dying to move their stadium into downtown. We can take old John Thurman Field, turn it into the new Modesto Boys and Girls Club with big facilities. That could start after school programs and education. We can also use the same programs Michael Tubbs has implemented in Stockton, which is a Modesto scholarship program, getting mentorship and internships for young individuals that are at risk, and get them to a mentor that will guide them to make right decisions. And one thing I would also do is I would invest in schools and get the city school board to invest in proper education and proper tools our kids need, rather than a football field like the people in the school board did a while back. So what we need is actual leadership and actual caring for our kids. And we do that with programs like the Children's Museum, Boys and Girls Club, STEAM programs, and also programs like the Modesto Scholarship Program, and to keep kids off of the gangs and violence in parts of town that are vulnerable and overlooked by the current council.
Thank you, Naramson. Next question, same question actually, goes to Doug Ridenauer.
Thank you very much. I think one of the issues of the youth services that are declining obviously is because of the government funding of the programs that they established early on. But those are not really where we should be focused on. We should be focusing on how we can get more involved with our youth services. A program that I work on the West Side talks about how parents have refused or don't get involved with their kids. So many of the current youth programs that are going on today don't get service because the kids can't even get out to the particular sports programs. I recommended some time ago, and I recommend I will again tonight, that 50% of all revenue that we get in from cannabis ought to be returned back to the Parks Department for youth services. This is taking a sum of money that has going to be provided to us, and we could turn it into something positive that they could go back and provide services for the youth services. And one of those things in order to do that is that we have to have a full council agreement on how we would do that and how we can turn that around. This is one way to do it, is to take something that we're getting money for, take 50% of that and make it specific and not something that's just thrown in the general fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And we're going to direct the same question to Sue.
Thank you. It's so important to work as partners with schools, churches, nonprofits, and businesses to address this issue. Children are our future, and we need to develop a child-friendly culture in our community. My experience has been deep with our city school partnerships, which I'm proud to have been a part of. We have many partnerships with after-school programs. Our schools are meeting places, our libraries, and our athletic events where thousands of people come to participate and support their children. Our schools are connected to the city. Our areas of the town are defined by where our schools are. I have been proud to be a mentor for many years with a student through a nonprofit locally, and that's a great opportunity to connect with children and give them the support and help that they need and guidance to develop their future and hopefully lead them on a path of productivity and a solid education and a brilliant future.
All righty. Thank you, Sue. Question to Christy. Christy, you are muted.
Mute. There we go. Please forgive me for that. I wanted to share with you that I have been a previous Big Brother, Big Sister. And one of the things that I was able to achieve was Big Sister of the Year. And that in that same year, I received Mentor of the Year. So I get about working with youth and creating opportunities for youth. And I'd also like to share with the group that I was a recipient of a Big Sister as I was growing up within our community. I think that we need to do what we need to do with our community partners. So that would be the county, that would be the school system, and everyone. And when you work with people like that, you know, these are the folks that get it done. They rally the community, they get stuff donated, they do in-kind work, they come up with great ideas. But I do want to say that to talk about how we're going to get kids to work right now in a time when we can't even get them to school is kind of a conversation that doesn't make much sense to me. And again, I'm looking at the budget, and I don't know if our city realizes this, but the projection for next year is a $19.5 million gap. So what I am not going to do as a lady running for mayor of Modesto is tell you about all the amazing things I'm going to accomplish when I know out of a $450,000 budget.
All right, Christy, your time is up. Thank you. Same question to Ted.
Okay. Well, it would start with stimulation of job growth, increasing revenues to the city. That's what has to happen. We have to solve our budget problems, as Christy Ayu had just indicated. Not only $19 million shortfall, we've got $30 million in liabilities for our PERS and retirement fund that we've got to fix. And other than that, honestly, it would be partnering with the county, schools, churches, nonprofits, and the private sector. We'd have to reach out to everybody and all work together.
All right. Thank you, Ted. And now we're going to start with Naramson with another question, a new question. And this question is, taking into account recent events and general relations between police and communities of color and others, are you in favor of an independent law enforcement oversight board/body for Modesto? And would you actively push for such a board? Why or why not?
I would absolutely be in favor of pushing for an independent civilian police board to review any police brutality or any deaths that occurred while anyone was in police custody. It's imperative that we have all stakeholders involved. I know all of the candidates have said stakeholders a lot, but when it comes to police investigations and what happens internally, it's all the government that does it and then comes out with the story after it's modified, which is absolutely absurd considering that George Floyd was tortured and murdered while he was in police custody. And we need to get more in-depth look at how police actually review these cases and get a neutral mediator to mediate the situation, because both sides will have a dispute. However, I do believe in the civilian board. I do believe that people have been legitimately harmed by the police in Modesto. I know Octavia, I met at the vigil, her brother was shot over 20 times in the back. That's ridiculous. We need to get to the bottom of why that happened, and a civilian review board will help us get there.
Thank you, Naramson. Same question goes to Doug.
No, I would not be in favor of it, because in Modesto, we assume that there's a problem in Modesto. It's not that you can't do things better, but why hasn't Modesto suffered some of the things that many of our communities have throughout our country? It's because Modesto has recognized this over 20 years ago of great leaders, primarily within the public safety, the police department, where they have got the community involved. Many of the community that's here tonight on this Zoom are the folks that have met with our city and our police officers, and they routinely look at trying to improve relations. I've been a police officer for 46 years, and I can tell you, I don't know of very many times where Modesto has had a situation where that we have had a situation that we have had issues that we need an outside, non-legislative, non-constitutional entity evaluating the police officers here in Modesto. So I would not be in favor of it until I found out that there was a problem that would require such a form of government.
Thank you, Doug.
John.
Question, looks like Aaron is not on, so we're going to go ahead and move right along to Sue.
Thank you. There's no question that we do have some major division in our communities, and we have gotten to a place where some trust has been broken down between many communities and law enforcement. I'm grateful that in Modesto, we seem to have a good relationship between all parties in this regard. We do need to find ways to rebuild this trust, make sure that we maintain this trust, and that we are hearing from all stakeholders from across our community about how to continually improve these relationships and have this trust. I would support hearing all sides regarding this issue, even regarding having an independent board. I would always want to listen and to have a collaborative effort towards any decision that would be as important as that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Second question, Christy.
I will always, always, always be in favor of an oversight council of anything. I was happy about the oversight council for Measure L. I was happy about an auditor. And I want to say one thing I want to say is the police clergy council has been a huge part of race relations and healing and working with the police department and leadership, and that has been nothing but beautiful. So on that note, I don't see any harm in a police oversight council. I think the police is doing a fabulous job in our city. I think I haven't heard anything that to be really concerned about, but I can tell you that we don't have much journalism these days. And I don't know if everyone realizes this, but journalism is the watchdog. And we have gone from 700 employees at the Modesto Bee to about 12 to 15. And the Modesto Bee has kept an eye on things for a while for us. But I think having a local oversight council could not do any harm whatsoever. I think it would be a benefit.
Thank you, Christy. Same question, Ted.
John, can you repeat the question, please?
You bet. The question is, taking into account recent events and general relations between police and communities of color and others, are you in favor of an independent law enforcement oversight board / body for Modesto? Would you actively push for such a board? Why or why not?
Okay. I would say that actually looking at this, we are blessed as a city. We haven't experienced a lot of the just the outbursts that have happened in other cities, and we do have a police force and a police chief that works well with a lot of our community members. Councilmember Ayu's mentioned the clergy council. I'm very much in support of them, and I believe that they provide a lot of those services at that time and at this time, and they step in when necessary. I would certainly take a look at something presented to us. I'd need to know more information, but I think that, and then I would also throw in here that this council and the mayor are also directly responsible for oversight of everything within the city, including anything that would happen in the police force. So I would say that any of that should be directly coming to the council. So thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Same question, Rick.
Yeah, I think what the mayor just said is critical, that the mayor and the city council, they are really the oversight committee, if you will. I wouldn't be in favor of putting some board together that would oversee our police department. My son-in-law is a police officer here in town. I know a bunch of police officers, a lot of them go to my church. I know the chief. We have an incredible group of men and women, law enforcement officers in our city. And man, I would have to see exactly what that oversight committee would do, but I'm with the mayor on this. That's what the council's there for. That's what the mayor's there for. If there's a problem in the police department with an officer or whatever, it's the council responsibility to take up that issue, if you will. So I would say no.
All righty. Thank you, Rick. And we're going to start with the next question with Doug. The question is, what community groups have you volunteered on or served with whose assistance will help you prioritize the needs of residents?
Well, again, I've spent 46 years working for the city in one capacity or another, and I've sat on a number of groups, not just within my church, but also I started the Wake Up program in my 40s after coming back from college, which is an at-risk program. The Wake Up program is still functioning today, very popular. The police department runs it, and it's at-risk kids who's had issues, and rather than sending them to some kind of a criminal process, they put them through this non-criminal process for 8 weeks, and many times it helps them out. In fact, some of those young people today that I'm proud to say that when I was there are attorneys today, many of them that you know that have now become attorneys, live in San Francisco, have done some amazing things. From there, I joined a church program called the New Start program. It was a similar program. The difference was that the Wake Up program is a government-run program, so it really could not force parents to come and participate. The church program was New Start, and it was 12 weeks, similar, and all these kids eventually went through a number of job opportunities, went to DVI for an entire day to have a possible dealing with those inmates and trying to get them to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Same question, Sue.
Thank you for this opportunity. I've had many opportunities that I've taken to serve in our community. I have served for many years on the Student Attendance and Review Board, which we would help families when they were having attendance issues, on the Head Start Federal Review Committee, on the Dr. Parker Committee, which is now called the Parents Leading Change, which is solely intended to increase graduation rates for underrepresented students. I've been on really dozens of committees in our community that I've been proud to serve on to improve the life and the well-being of many different people in our community. Booster clubs, parent-teacher clubs, Stanislaus County Commission for Women, I was Woman of the Year, Kristen Olson Education Leadership Committee, many, it goes on and on. So I would encourage you to look at my website, and you can see the involvement that I've had. It is lengthy, and I've enjoyed every moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Same question, Christy.
I have been involved in the community since my mom showed me how when I was a teenager, and she was volunteering at the local hospital. I was a candy striper, and it just kind of went on from there to Booster Club president, parent-teacher involvement and things like that. And then as I got into my career, I was a past president of the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Employee Foundation, past board member for the California State Coroners Association, previous member of the Stanislaus County Death Review Team, and also project coordinator of Keeping Infants Sleeping Safe here in our community, which reduced many deaths of infants in our community. And that was in partnership with Stanislaus County Department of Public Health. I was a past member of the Stanislaus County Child Abuse Prevention Council, Salvation Army Advisory Board, and the Stanislaus County Office of Education Leadership Academy Board. And as a board member with the Community Hospice. And one of my most memorable experiences with Rotary was being on a group study exchange to India, and that was a cultural exploration of my vocation along with the culture in India. And I've also served on the California State Funeral Directors Association and a participant in Sunrise Rotary and many other wonderful opportunities. And if I've missed anything and anyone hears this, I'm sorry, but it's been a journey, and I've had the opportunity to learn beautiful things from all sorts of people within our community. So
Thank you, Christy. Same question, Ted.
John, can you repeat the question, please?
You bet. The question is, what community groups have you volunteered on or served with whose assistance will help you prioritize the needs of residents?
Well, thank you. I've been involved as mayor here most recently with so many community groups. It's been amazing. You think you're connected in the community, and then you become mayor, and you see just how many amazing organizations that there are out there doing so many things in our community. I have been involved on boards. I believe that if you onto too many boards, you can't serve as well as you can if you stay to a smaller number of boards. But I've been on boards, the SPY board, and I've been also on the Casa de Modesto Retirement Center board for many years. I was also on the Planning Commission for 8 years prior to becoming mayor, and the Board of Zoning Adjustment prior to becoming mayor. I've also worked in the community as an architect, donating my services to many organizations. To the one that everybody would know is I actually donated my architecture services and put together a crew of contractors and subcontractors to design and build the police memorial at our police department. So,
thank you, Ted.
thank you.
Moving right along to Rick.
Yeah, over the last 40 years, I've been invited to be on a lot of boards and committees and whatever, and there'd be too many to talk about. Most of the time, I find that I'd rather go do things. When I'm on a board or a committee, it seems like I don't get my hands dirty, and I'm somebody who likes to get out there and work with people. But I will tell you about a couple of things. I've been involved in mentoring teenagers now for 40 years. And it's one of the things that I just enjoy a whole bunch. I was involved, Love Modesto started at Big Valley Greats. It started very small, and it has grown to the point where it is now. And the thing I love about Love Modesto is everybody's out there getting their hands dirty. I was involved in bringing the Miracle League to Modesto. We actually gave up a little hunk of our property at on Tully and Pellendale so they could put their ball field there. I've been the head varsity baseball coach at our high school for a number of years. I started what is called the Liviana's Closet, which is a place where children or young mothers who have babies and can get clothes and diapers and all those kinds of things. And so there's just a whole lot of places where I've been involved with the community.
Thank you, Rick. Naramson?
Yeah, Mr. Griffin, can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry, I keep asking.
No problem at all. What community groups have you volunteered on or served with whose assistance will help you prioritize the needs of residents?
Well, that's a really good question. As a community organizer, most of my work usually is volunteer work, whether it's working to get registering voters out on the streets and canvassing, or trying to set up the Syrian festival before the opening ceremony. I've also worked and joined Without Permission this past year, where I attended their fundraiser. Without Permission is against human trafficking, and that's where I absolutely agree with the police department, is we need to end human trafficking. So that's why I'm really involved in Without Permission, and their event was great. I recommend going to their annual Kentucky Derby event. It was wonderful. I'm also involved in the Assyrian American Civic Club. Most of our history was destroyed because of radical fundamentalists, and trying to get that back is something that is really important to our culture. And that's why I wrote a book called Beckoning Aspirations, Solving the Assyrian Resource Dilemma, and disseminating that information to as many people as possible. I'm also on the Board of Zoning and Adjustment and the Landmark Preservation Commission. And one of the most important things that I did back when I was in my early 20s, a long time ago, was I coached basketball for young kids, and we were able to build a tournament and travel and have a traveling team. And it was something that was pretty remarkable, and it really helped the people that were playing basketball excel and get into better placemaking, better education, and better employment. And I've seen that happen with my own eyes. So this is something that I really have passion about.
Thank you, Narefson. Our time is up. Thank you. All right, we're going to move to a new question. And the first one this question is going to be directed to is Doug. The question is, what will be your commitment to ensuring that the city has qualified, diverse employee workforce to serve our very diverse community, and how would you start?
Well, I think, first of all, it's in the city government is that we have a human resource department that is supposed to make sure that we maintain the absolute structure that's met by the federal, state, and the city policies. One of the things that we need to do more often is making sure that human resources come back to the city council and give us an update on how well we're doing. No doubt there might be things that we need to do better, and that's one of the leadership roles as a mayor, is to make sure those kinds of things are done. We work for the citizens. We don't work for the staff. We don't work for folks that work for the department. We are working for the citizens of Modesto, and we need to maintain that ability to call them in and keep track of how well we're doing. We should be a leader in that area, and a leader means that you have to have a relationship with your staff. You have to have the ability that they know what's the expectation of you as a leader, and making sure that they're prepared to come back and keep the full council up to date on how well we're doing and the things that we need to do better. That's leadership, and that's one of the things I promise I will do.
Thank you, Doug. Sue?
Thank you for this question. Diversity and representation is of utmost importance to our community. Everyone must have a voice at the table and be a part of the community. And as city leaders, the most important thing that we can do is reach out and listen to the concerns of everyone in the community and do our best to make sure that everyone is represented, and in a very real way. With my experience on the school board, I'm proud to say that I made this one of my priorities and was able to work very closely with the superintendent and meet with our diverse community members and really strive to make a difference in this regard. And we were making progress. We have a long ways to go in our community, but I believe with my experience and training and passion in this regard that I am the candidate that would work hardest and the most efficiently to make it happen and more quickly.
Thank you, Sue. Same question, Christy.
I would like to take a moment and ask you to ask the question one more time. I want to make sure I fully understand.
You bet. The question is, what will be your commitment to ensuring that the city has a qualified, diverse employee workforce to serve our very diverse community, and how would you start?
First of all, I don't know if everyone understands this, but we are not a strong mayor government. Through our city charter, we have decided that we are a strong city manager and then mayor government. So basically our role is policies and to provide a little leadership here and there. But what I can tell you is this: we do have some work to be done. And we can start with simple things like when community members of ethnicity come forward and want to participate in the process and be on a board, that we advocate for people that are different or whatever to participate in things that happen at the city. And we need to simply just do the right thing. And I'm always talking about like transparency. I don't want to talk about transparency. I want to actually be transparent, be authentic, do the right thing, care about each other. It's simple. One of the things I didn't tell you earlier is that I participated in an American Leadership Forum, which was a life-changing opportunity for me. In our ALF journey, we had been building on a statement made by Martin Luther King, that all change is a negotiation of power and relationships. We have said that in addition to these two dynamics, humans are also uniquely gifted with reasoning and in change or reasoning for how and why we see the world in certain ways. That's how we're going to.
All righty. Sorry, Christy. Thank you. You are out of time. Moving right along. Same question, Ted.
I think I could yeah, I'm unmuted actually. So I would commit that to sit down with any group that wanted to take a look at the diversity within our city, and also just work with HR to show where we're actually at. And as you know, we you know, I took steps to bring in an auditor to the city, and as an African-American lady, and I'm concerned because the majority of our council within 8 months had let her go, and that was spurred the town hall meeting that the NAACP put on, and I was very much against her being let go. And NAACP did an amazing job, I think, explaining to our council the role of a city auditor and what a city auditor was tasked with doing. And I think proved for us that it was wrong for us to have let her go. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Same question, Rick.
Yeah, the way these answers are coming down, I'm not really sure I understand the question totally, but I will say this. You know, in my profession and all of your professions, I think you always want to hire the best people. I mean, that's the goal. You want to hire the best people. But I also think you can also make sure that the people that you hire represents the community at large. And I do think that that's where the city manager, Joe Lopez, HR department needs to hear from the mayor, from the council, hey, how are we doing? Are we hiring the brightest and the best? And are we, you know, do the people that work here look like our city? And so I think you can accomplish both. You can get the best people, but you can also make sure it looks like the city. And I think that's one of the great roles that the council has, or the mayor has, working with the HR department.
Thank you, Rick. Same question to Naramson.
Yeah, well, first let's start with public officials. We need to have public officials reflect the demographics of our city. But when it comes to public workers, a diverse economy is a strong economy. And coming from being a first generation Assyrian American, I do know what it's like to have difficulties finding employment in public sectors because of my name or because people are unfamiliar with my background. And, you know, it's something that we need to think about, of recruiting a diverse workforce, because that brings us the brightest talent needed to compete in an increasingly competitive market. And we live in an infinite game. We're running a government here. We're not a business. We can't just get up and leave. So we need, in short, a diverse workforce to foster a strong, inclusive economy that's built to last. Furthermore, I think setting the standard with an anti-hate resolution and commemorating all of our cultures in our town would be excellent to embrace our diversity and also create a legacy for our diverse community, because diversity unified is the strongest asset that we have as a town. So we first have to start with public officials and hiring a diverse workforce that represents and reflects every single community in this town. Modesto is over 65% Latino. I doubt workforce is a reflection of that. So we need to work on that.
Thank you, Naramson. All righty, we're gonna move on to a new question. And the first one to get this question will be Sue. Question is, what is your vision for future growth in Modesto, and what steps will you take to get there?
Updating the general plan is a beginning. We need to do that. It hasn't been done since 1995. So regarding the urban limit line, I believe that our council made the correct decision there, but there needs to be more time and a more robust process to engage stakeholders through the general plan update process. We need a long-term strategic growth plan for Modesto and a vision for Modesto. So I would be very eager to get going on that, as there are many people in the community. And I think in connection with our last question, we need to bring together a diverse group of people to listen to them, to hear them out, and get their input on what our vision should be for the future and a general plan.
All righty, thank you very much. Moving right along, Christy, same question. You'll have to unmute yourself, Christy.
I think it's important, and I wish we would have in the last 5 years, because 5 years is a good long time. Use that time to go through an entire general plan amendment. Not being the leader, obviously I can't provide that direction. I'm a 1 in 7 vote. But I can tell you that I was very disappointed that at the end, in our pandemic situation, when we could not have a full, robust conversation with the public about growth, it just wasn't the time, when we couldn't use public engagement to make a decision to put something as important as that on the ballot that would have created a 20-year rule. It would have created so many issues. The deal is, if you're in leadership, this is absolutely one of those decisions that we had the power to change. We had the power to do, and we had set the finances aside to do it, and we didn't. So that is something, to leave that undone is just not good. It needs to be done. And that would be one of the things that I would, given the resources, if they were available, we have them set aside, so I guess we could, but we need to get it going. It's very important.
Thank you, Christy. Same question directed to Ted.
Well, I think it's been a couple of years ago, I brought forward the initiative to do the downtown master plan that was just completed, just accepted by the council. Gives us a roadmap for exactly what we're going to do in our downtown, and revitalization, and how we see the uses for the downtown area. That will be something that we can use to stimulate development of our downtown, do some infill development down there, increase some of the densities. We need job growth, so we do need to look at where we may be able to put some job developing businesses within our city. The general plan was just approved to proceed in our last council meeting here, and the general plan, full comprehensive general plan, is underway. We have, over the term here of these last 5 years, we as a council did do a general plan update, and we took that upon ourselves and worked with the existing plan that we had and updated that plan. So again, partnering with the Silicon Valley, with the ACE train connection to bring some jobs here and get some businesses here in Modesto also. I want to see this become the ag.
Thank you, Ted. Your time is up. All righty. Moving along, same question, Rick.
Yeah. I'm thankful that the council was able to, kind of figure out what they were going to do with downtown. Because if you don't have a plan, you're lost. And you need a leader. There needs to be a leader who brings all of the people together, the stakeholders together, and they come up with, here's the general, plan. Here's what we're doing. Here's the target. Here's what we're going after. And I think that's just absolutely critical. It has to it's got to be at the top of the list of this next mayor and council, whoever gets voted in, they've got to figure out what the plan is so that everybody knows the direction that we're all supposed to go in. And so, yeah, for me, it's you got to have the plan. You got to have, here's the bullseye, here's the target. And without that, you're just it's just a hodgepodge of stuff that happens, and some of it may be good and some of it isn't, but general plan.
Thank you, Rick. Same question, Naramson.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Well, last year I attended the charrette, which actually displayed and discussed the general plan, and I was very amazed, and it was very interesting to undertake consultants and designers that are helping design the general plan, and recommended a lot of things that the consultants were actually placing in the general plan, which were murals, oriel windows, remodeling pre-existing structures, an art district, which is huge, a children's museum, cafes, and beautifying alleys. And also, we need a Grand Central Market that actually utilizes and enhances our ability to sell our local commodities like vinegar, olive oil, chopped salads, wine, cheese, bread, coffee, kitchen supplies, beer stores, almonds, nuts, raisins, all of those commodities we have, we can definitely take advantage of with a small Grand Central Market and a consortium of delicacies and restaurants within that market that represent our diverse community. And on top of that, some small retail shops. And we need to stop building sprawl. We need to stop building out and build up, because when we build out, what happens is we have to maintenance those properties. We have to provide police, fire protection. We also have to provide plumbing, and the taxes and the maintenance does not get us a return. We do not get a return back on what we build, and the city goes in debt. You can have economic development with debt. We need it with prosperity and resiliency. That's the problem with the current council, and that's why we're always in debt, because our city invests very irresponsibly in economic development.
Thank you. Same question, Doug.
I think the next mayor and the next leadership has to realize that this is a city management mayor type of government and not a strong mayor government. You wonder why these things never came about until the last few months of our term is because of our thinking, the lack of vision, the lack of discussion, the lack of having a relationship with other council members. And what could it possibly be like if those things were taken care of like they're supposed to at the very beginning of your term? Growth is extremely important. If we don't grow, Modesto's not going to have the funding that it needs to have the services provided to the citizens that we have here. So it has to be done analytically. It has to be done comprehensively. We just made that decision last Tuesday. Should have been done 5 years ago. But the next leadership needs to realize that as you have all of your council together, not in I want to do something, but we want to lead and vision in this direction, then that's the way that the city will grow, and it will grow vibrantly. We'll have a vibrant downtown like we've already had the planning for downtown with the charrette, and we'll have the same thing in the future with the comprehensive plan that we put in place last Tuesday.
Thank you, Doug. All right, we're going to move to a new question. And this question The first one that will get this question will be Christy. Recently, the citizens of Modesto have built a strong number of grassroots organizations with the purpose of bettering the community. How have you shown your support for these organizations, and how will you continue to show your support?
I would need to know specifically what grassroots organizations we're talking about. It seems kind of a convoluted question. I'm not able to answer it.
Okay, moving right along. This is for Ted.
Mhm.
Recently, the citizens of Modesto have built a strong number of grassroots organizations with the purpose of bettering the community. How have you shown your support for these organizations, and how will you continue to show your support?
Well, I'm a strong believer that changing our city comes from the citizens. And any grassroots organization out there that is working to truly better our city, I would fully support. We don't need bigger and larger government and control through government. It should be the citizens that are controlling what happens within their city and the betterment of their city. John, you're muted.
Thank you, Ted. Same question to Rick.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like Christy on this one, but I will say this in general, that anytime the citizens get together and, they collaborate and come up with ideas to make their own community a better place, that's a win in most cases. But, government can't fix everything. And I agree with Ted on that. And so as a general rule, it's always a good thing when citizens come together and form organizations or clubs or whatever they might be for the betterment of the city. But that might be somewhat subjective, and I think that's what Christy was getting to, but on a general sense, I'm all for citizens getting together and forming clubs, organizations, whatever they might be. I just don't know what all of them are, and I'm not sure what specific ones you're talking about. But as I said, as a general rule, man, I'm all for that.
Thank you, Rick. Naramson?
Yeah, Mr. Griffin, that's a great question. I'm a part of a lot of these organizations, especially against police brutality and also for voting registration. For example, Never Stay Silent, Actions Over Hashtag, Black Lives Matter, Indivisible Stanislaus, Be the Change, the ACLU, the Sunrise Movement. These are all grassroots activist movements that are changing the way we discuss critical problems in our town. And I am happy to say that I marched all the way from downtown Modesto to McHenry and Stanford by marshals for George Floyd. And I marched back. And I also marched on July 4th for police brutality with these grassroots organizations. And I will do the same thing when I'm mayor. I will not stop, because that's my job as a community organizer, is to understand the grievances and concerns about the people of Modesto. And that's what I'm doing right now, unlike the candidates who have no idea how to answer this question, which is a concern, because they're supposed to be knowing what the people reflect and what ideas they want the council to pass.
Thank you, Naramson. Same question directed to Doug.
John, go ahead and repeat it, please, if you don't mind.
You bet. The question is, recently, the citizens of Modesto have built a strong number of grassroots organizations with the purpose of bettering the community. How have you shown your support for these organizations, and how will you continue to show your support?
Great question. There's a number of grassroots organizations that have been involved in Modesto for a long time. The Neighborhood Watch program, who's been like the #1 or #2 neighborhood watch program in the state of California, and continues to be very actively involved in these grassroots. The pickleball organization that came from Riverbank, I was part of establishing that here in Modesto. Still involved in it, still go out and connect with him. The neighborhood and the parks, Canada, those kinds of organizations that are the La Loma Park area up here in Northeast, they're grassroots. community getting together. I'm very proud of being on the board of a brand new board that's called the Classic Car Museum. It's an idea that I and myself, we had a small dream, sat down with great people. You know, the mayor is even part of that. And we've sat down, and guess what? 2 weeks ago, we took keys of the new Classic Car Museum here in Modesto, a group of volunteer, dedicated board members, grassroots, that's going to have a feather in Modesto's cap to have a Classic Car Museum here. The Neighborhood Watch, but the city ministries has organizations, have monthly meetings. You have Manos Unidas is an organization down in South Modesto. You have a strategic planning committee based on the city ministries for the West Side. There's a number of current grassroots organizations that I'm still a part of, and I will continue to assist in those areas.
Thank you, Doug. Same question to Sue.
Hi there. I could not write fast enough, but Modesto is full of so many groups that want to make a difference. College Avenue Neighborhood Association, I am a part of. National Night Out, as Doug mentioned, throughout the city. That's what we're known for. Modesto is known for our community groups that want to be a part of making it better. Love Modesto. I've organized and coordinated since the beginning of Love Modesto, groups from our church and other churches to participate. I've attended City Ministry Network regularly, as was mentioned. El Concilio works towards assisting our citizens towards citizenship and many health resources. Latino Community Roundtable helps educate voters. Interfaith Ministries, that food pantry and clothes closet, free for our needy people. That I've been on that board since 1996. League of Women Voters, Friends of Modesto Library, the Clergy Council. And as was mentioned previously, our Children's Museum is another fabulous opportunity for people to be involved. I've worked closely with all of these groups and hope to work more closely with the Children's Museum. I am proud of our heritage in Modesto, where we are able to bring all of these community groups together that really want to make a difference. And that is why we are what we are.
Thank you, Sue. Moving right along, we have a new question, and this question will be directed to Ted. The question is, how do you understand the issues of water availability, resource development, and the city's role in working with area municipalities, agricultural stakeholders, and conservation groups?
That's to me.
Yes.
Okay. I will tell you that I've been involved for the entire time as mayor here with the MID and the control board or there with MID when the state was trying to seize our water. We're still working on that, but I met and spoke when when they came to town and listened to us. I'm sorry, it escapes my mind right now as to the organization. I've been working with also looking at our water plant and working with a number of cities, working with our staff and even a couple of the council members, and looking at what we can do as far as regionalization of our water services here to provide better water service for some of our adjacent cities, and how we can all work together at saving our water and also just conserving water and getting better rates across the board.
Thank you, Ted. Same question, Rick.
Yeah, if I understand the question correctly, I have met with a number of large and small farmers. We are we're an ag community, And these farmers have all expressed great concern to me about water and will there be enough water for them to grow their crops or whatever all those things might be. And so when you think about a town like Modesto, ag is our #1 industry. And I know that we have a lot of our farmers are super concerned about that piece of it. Obviously, we need to do all that we can to conserve water. We have gone through some periods of drought here in this region, so we've got to work hard with that also. But I know, as I'm just going to zero in on the ag guys that I know, and I know a lot of them, that's a big concern to them, that there is water, that the water that we have is able to water the crops that they have.
Thank you, Rick. Same question, Naramson.
Can you please repeat the question, Mr. Griffin?
Not a problem. The question is, how do you understand the issues of water availability, resource development, and the city's role in working with area municipalities, agricultural stakeholders, and conservation groups?
Well, first off, our water availability is crucial because we need water for our agricultural business, and MID provides us a great service when it comes to our water rates. However, when it comes to conservation and actually the environmental problems, we have the highest children's asthma rate in the country. So we need to deal with some pollution. So solar information and rebates for solar panels would be a great way to start for MID to eliminate the effects of climate change and drought, which affects our water. Also, we can have more water storage, water dams, working with Congressman Josh Harder. I know Josh Harder has had an initiative at the Del Porto Water District and actually getting more water storage in certain areas in our region. I would definitely work with Congressman Harder on that issue. Also, I would definitely start talking about really how to examine what type, during Ag Tech, I went to the Farmers Bureau convention that the Small Business Administration threw this past year, and we need to develop Ag Tech, which actually makes it more easier to water crops and efficiently. So Ag Tech would also be something I would look into along with MID and water storage.
Thank you, Naramson. Same question, Doug.
Thank you. As most of you know, we have a rich water irrigation system here in Modesto. From Modesto Reservoir, where our treatment plant provides our surface water and brings the water to our community. And then, as you know, that water is some of that water that goes right through Modesto to San Francisco. Here's what we have to do. We have to have everybody at the table. Everybody at the table to talk about conservation and how to best maintain the type of storage that we need here in Modesto. Most of you may or may not be aware that we have a treatment plant that is only at 50% capacity right now, because we built assuming that we're going to need that capacity after we were supposed to grow, and which we have not. So regionalization, I think, is critical. We're a government, and we should be going to other governments and seeing where we can regionalize and help them provide their service water as well. And one of the most incredible things about Modesto is the fact of as our solid waste, where we established one of the few cities in the country that sell their solid waste water to the Port Patterson in order for them to use in agriculture. Those are new dynamic kinds of things that we can do as a government, and we will continue to do those things.
Thank you, Doug. Same question, Sue.
My grandparents both had dairy farms here locally, so I was raised on the property and heard discussions from the time I was born about the importance of water in our community. It's imperative that we have strong relationships with our agricultural leaders and farmers. And as important is that we work together with the municipalities in our area to make sure that we have secure water. It's important that we be ready for the next drought. and for any other needs that come up, especially for our crops, which is our number one economic driver in our community. There's a lot of research being done, especially regarding aquifer recharge. And actually on one of the properties that my grandparents own, they're doing research with UC Davis to study that so that we can make better use of the water that we do have. So we do need a lot of innovative solutions using technology that we can guarantee that we do have water for our families and our farmers.
Thank you, Sue. Same question, Christy. You'll have to unmute yourself, Christy.
You would think I would get that eventually. Anyways, I wanted to say that one of the things I was able to do this year is I went out with our electrical division. I went out with our water division. And when I say go out, I put my boots on and my 511 tactical pants, and I went out with them all day long. And I was able to see what we actually have out there. And when folks complain to me about how much they have to pay for water, and I know it's hard sometimes to pay for that, especially if you're socioeconomically disadvantaged, but you're not just paying for the water, you're paying for clean drinking water that is monitored. We have all kinds of systems in place that will absolutely alarm and shut off the water if there's any sort of a pathogen in there. So learning about all of that and seeing how it all works was just absolutely amazing. Another thing that I talked to our department about the other day is our local municipalities and their need for water. We have great water, and it comes from a book, if anyone can get it. It's called The Greening of Paradise Valley, and it talks about how we got to the point to where we have the water we have today and why and who fought so hard for it back then. But like, for example, Waterford is just looking into possibly what they would need. What they would use in a year's time is only 2.8% of what we have available to us. And we're looking at them paying the exact same as our ratepayers. And then we would use those funds to help pay back the bond.
All righty. Thank you, Christy. You are out of time. All righty. So the question to Rick is this. What is your view on returning citizens who are formerly incarcerated? What action steps do you have to reintegrate them into the community?
So somebody gets out of jail, out of prison, and how do they make their way back into the population, kind of thing? Is that the question? Did I understand that? Yeah. Well, here's the deal. I think we have. I think it begins in the prison system or the jails. By the time they get out and they now hit the streets, if something hasn't happened in the prison, in the jail, it's almost too late for them to go to a halfway house or whatever it might be where they can learn whatever it is they need to learn to integrate back into society or the city or whatever it might be. And so really it's what happens inside the jail and the prisons that I think are super critical as somebody gets near being paroled or released or whatever.
All righty. Thank you, Rick. Same question for Naramson.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I feel that when people just get out of incarceration, they are in a huge vicious cycle of recidivism, and that's something we need to stop as a community. And I think Michael Tubbs in Stockton is doing a wonderful job with this program with helping former inmates get out of jail. And one thing that he provides are mentorships for people that were in jail before, to provide mentors and how to guide them on how to go about the process and learning new life skills, counseling as well from certified therapists from nonprofit groups, school as well. Also, community college will help. If that is free, that would help former inmates tremendously get a job training, recreational activities, and also housing first programs if they need housing, because we can't let them go homeless because they're most likely to commit crimes again and be recidivism occur. And this is really important because the people that are incarcerated, most of them are people of color, and we need to take care of them in terms of, so they don't go back into the incarceration system, in the prison system, which is an incredibly difficult system to shake and get out of. So it's important that we job train, schooling, counseling, and mentorship. Those 4 components and pillars will help alleviate recidivism and help former inmates. And also voting. They should be able to vote and be able to practice the fundamental right to vote in this country.
Thank you, Naramson. The same question to Doug.
Thank you. I think one of the most important things that we can do as a society in the future is to continue to look at the justice system as we've had in the past and how we've failed in so many ways, and to incarcerating people inappropriately. That being said, the fact that we are now getting hundreds of incarcerated people, some out early, are now coming back into our system, we're going to have to make sure that how we do that, and our funding is so limited on the city side, we have to partner up to do that. Partner up with the county, hopefully partner up with the state where the resources could be coming out. We really only have about $140,000, $140 million that are discretionary in the city of Modesto. The other, over 2 times that amount, is enterprise funds, and we can't spend those monies like some may have indicated tonight, their willingness to do those things. That being said, it's all about trying to get the people back on the right track. And what we have to do is to make sure when they come back and they're re-entered in the programs that we can fund through partnerships through the county and the state. And we need to participate in a nationwide recall of our justice system in many areas that's been inappropriate. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Doug. Same question for Sue.
Thank you. These decisions are made at the state level, but it's of utmost importance that we have a plan. There needs to be a plan in place for these citizens, and they need a safe place to be able to live and reside after they are released. Many suggestions have already been given. I would like to restate the importance of job training and mentorships. I might add that this is a systematic problem regarding mass incarceration of people of color, and it starts long before adulthood. Even preschool children and school-age children are disproportionately suspended and expelled at a much higher rate than other children. This was one of my strong points. I felt like on the school board, I continually brought this to light. I wanted it to be addressed, and I encouraged changes so that it would be resolved and helped, and we worked very hard to make changes so that children were not disproportionately punished because of their color.
Thank you, Sue. Same question, Christy. Christy, I'm going to need you to unmute.
Mute. I'm still trying to figure this Zoom thing out. Okay, so one of my first legitimate jobs was for Friends Outside, nonprofit organization helping to reintegrate people out of prison. So I was a case manager, job developer. I did that for 2 years. I worked with parolees, getting out of Pelican Bay and Folsom and everywhere else. It is extremely difficult to parole out. You can't go back to the community where you committed the crime and that's where your family is. So now here you are in Modesto or wherever you get dropped off on the bus with your $200 and the clothes on your back. And hopefully you have a state ID, hopefully you have your social security card, and you can go apply for a job. But where are you going to sleep? Where are you going to shower? What are you going to wear? How are you going to get there? it is just a setup for absolute failure. And I know that we're going to be getting about 12,000 more out, but I will tell you that the state of California has done a terrible job at what to do with inmates and over arresting people, and it's just outrageous. And no one can come out of a situation like that. You can't rent an apartment in Modesto without bringing home 3 times, and it's $1,250 to get an apartment. Where are you, if you don't have a place to live, how are you going to be successful? So we as a community, we as the county, the city, the state, the parole department, we all have to figure out a plan.
All righty, Christy, your time is up. Same question, Ted.
The big solution is to be catching people in their childhood before they even get into prison, and that has to happen through rebuilding the family, through mentorship programs, and just catch them before they even go into prison and keep them out of prison. The state is releasing a lot of prisoners. We are taking our share in Modesto here. I'm knowledgeable about the fact that a lot of them, or a number of them, have actually ended up over at the Gospel Mission. I've actually talked to, and worked with a couple of them in regards to, we do have a training program here, the VOLT program, that will take men and women out of jail and train them. And then we've got to look at, what the Gospel Mission does an amazing job with their New Life program. We've got to look at what we might be able to do to partner with them, partner with the county, expand that type of program. The Gospel Mission, I know, does not take funding from government, only from private donations. So we'd have to work at that and look at see what we could do to possibly copy that program. So thank you.
Thank you, Ted. This will be the last question of the evening. The next question is directed to the first, which is Naramson. The question is, there has been a significant increase in homelessness in Modesto this year. As mayor, what measurable action will you take to address this complicated problem?
Very good question. When you look at rent oppressions, their rent burdens, which is the amount of money you make in the rent that you pay, they're becoming so oppressive that our homelessness population is increasing. So affordable housing is a problem that's contributing to homelessness. And my approach would be a housing first approach and enhance the capabilities of the continuum of care of Stanislaus County, in which I attend nearly all of the meetings. And enhancing housing first programs is like this: coordinated services, fixed mobile care for SMI and SUD patients, job training, and also counseling and mentoring, and de-escalation for crisis response teams. Those are housing first components. We can also have micro homes. We can also repurpose, reuse, and remodel old hotels and motels into permanent housing, like the Housing Authority has done. Enhance Housing Authority's budget and capacity, democratize tenants' rights. And also, we could definitely start building micro homes across villages as well. And these are all things that we can accomplish. Shared housing programs for precarious seniors in tough situations and get them to roommate together. These are all quantitative and qualitative research experiments that have worked. So they keep 70 to 80% retention rate for the homelessness population, which is great. And all of these programs have worked in Lexington, Kentucky, Salt Lake City, Utah, and New Mexico.
Thank you, Naramson. We are out of time. Moving right along. Same question, Doug.
Yeah, the homeless situation is incredibly difficult because it has increased from the years that I was there. We had homelessness back in the 60s and 70s, not to the degree we had today, and it was a different type of homeless people that we had back then. Today, it's an issue of social economics, it's money, it's people from many of the things that many of us have talked about tonight. But homelessness is like one of my primary quality of life issues that I think we have to put that at the top of everything. Because if we don't come to satisfying or balancing out the homeless situation, nothing else is going to matter, because the economy is not going to grow. The financial situation is not going to be good, because we're going to only try to dump more money, more things that are not working. That means you have to have the community, you have to have the government, you have to have the departments, you have to have the state and the city, the federal government at the table. And at the table, you have to try to work what works best. And it's not just always making more money or giving more money to people that don't recognize the whole purpose of money. There's so much to this, and Stanislaus County has done, I think, an absolute tremendous job in the focus on prevention, the care teams that they're putting out there. In the future, we have to do this ongoing every day.
All righty. Thank you, Doug. Same question, Sue.
Thank you. As I mentioned before, I did serve on the Focus on Prevention Council, and I do think that progress has been made, but I also know that the numbers are increasing, and that this is especially important during the time of COVID-19. Again, we need to continue with the patterns of collaboration and finding solutions, listening to business leaders, faith community leaders, community groups, and make decisions based on listening to those groups. We need to help and assist others in providing services and clothing and food, housing, education, and work with local agencies to promote assistance in the areas I just mentioned, as well as helping our mentally ill citizens. I, in the emergency room, have seen firsthand the results of living in a way that our bodies are exposed to the elements, and it is troubling to observe this. And I feel for the people that are struggling. And I know that there's many people in our community that want to help to improve this situation and make it better. And we just need to all keep working together to make that happen.
Thank you, Sue. Same question, Christy.
I did it. I unmuted myself. I have had the opportunity to work on community housing and community development committee, which is a committee that brings forward information to the council and works on affordable housing issues. And I have been doing that the whole entire 5 years. I have learned so much about affordable housing. In the year 2015, that was the first year we were able to spend $350,000 and assist 669 individuals. In 2016, we spent $3.85 million in homeless and affordable housing funds. And out of that, 1,200 were assisted, 72 affordable units were maintained. And I mean, the list goes on and on. If anyone wants to hear more about it, I'd be happy to share it with you. But the important thing and the key thing to remember at the moment is we have 2,200 point in time count that are homeless right now, but we have 22,000 that are eminently homeless. That means they live on their neighbor's couch or their sister's garage or the trailer in the backyard. We have to think about the big picture. What are we going to do over the next 5 years with the severe? We need somebody like myself, 5 years of experience, that's ready to lead and hit the ground running. And I know how we can help, but it's not going to be as much as everyone wants it to be. I know that for sure. And I'm disturbed by it.
Thank you, Christy. Same question, Ted. Ted, you are muted.
Yes, I am. To keep housing homeless is just simply not working without fixing the problem, fixing what is the cause of these the homeless people on our streets here. We need to refocus the county and get the county working on fixing the problem of most of the people that we see on our streets, which is drug addiction and mental health problems. And because many of the people that are on our streets, if we house them, they can't even function in housing, and we need to be fixing the problem before, alongside of, I mean, housing is a necessity, but it doesn't work. We just keep building more and more housing to accommodate the rising numbers in homeless people.
Thank you, Ted. Same question, Rick.
Yeah, I think if there was one problem that I could fix, if I had one magic bullet, if I could rub the genie's belly and get one wish, that I could kind of take care of it all, would be the whole homeless crisis we have, because it is a crisis. But I can tell you 4 things. Number one, you got to create better jobs, economic development. That's just got to be central to this whole thing. Then you got the whole affordable housing. Our church helps over 300 new families every month with food. 300 new families every month. The county now is sending about 75 people a month to our church. And these are not homeless folks. These are the working poor. They're busting their hump every day. They just can't afford an apartment. And so what we do is we supply all their food for them, and then they can take that money and put it towards housing. So we've got to create something where we can have more affordable housing. You got to deal with the drug crisis. Our church does, imagine AA, it's just a little different. We have over 300 people Tuesdays that are on Zoom calls and everything. We're just working our tails off. People who are goofed up with drugs, and then you got the mental health piece of it. And so those are the 4 things that you got to focus on if you're going to deal with the homeless situation.
All righty. Thank you, Rick. That concludes our questions for the evening. We're going to go ahead to our closing remarks, and we will start with Sue. You have 1.5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the NAACP for hosting this forum this evening, and the ACLU. I want to put my experience to work for the city of Modesto. The problems that we are facing due to the pandemic are real and will take a long time to move past. I firmly believe that my experience as an emergency room nurse and on the school board make me the most qualified person to lead us through these challenges. I pride myself on being a bridge builder and on working collaboratively with others to achieve common goals. I would do that as mayor. It really is going to take all of us to build a better future for Modesto, to increase jobs, to grow our economy, and to make Modesto an even better place to raise a family. I am committed to doing that. I have lived here all of my life and have spent my entire life committed to making Modesto a better place. It feels like Modesto has been in a holding pattern for a long time, and I want to see us move forward. I would be honored to have your support, and I encourage you to reach out to me by visiting my website at www.sueformayor.com or emailing me at sue@sueformayor.com. My cell phone number is available. Please call or text anytime with any questions or concerns. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sue. Doug?
Thank you. Modesto's vision cannot be just one person's vision. It has to be Modesto's vision. And I think it's been demonstrated tonight that the mayor and next mayor has to be engaged in the entire community. We have to build relationships. We got to be able to communicate with each other. And we have to deal with people that maybe don't want to deal with you or like you. I've served in every part of our city, whether it's been patrolling a police officer, assisting in medical calls, catering to folks during the restaurant days, serving liaison as a community collaborative, people of action. These are programs and businesses that nonprofits that I've been heavily involved, attending Manos Unidas, and strategic planning by the city ministries, or looking for community support projects throughout our community, not just in my particular district. And many will tell you that I try to address anybody's concerns in Modesto. I went back to college in my 40s after I felt a lifetime of job training. You know what I discovered? You know, you're never too old to learn something new. And I did. And I pledge to you, and I will pledge to you, I will always listen to the community before leading. My grandmother used to tell me, God gifted me with 2 ears and 1 mouth. And I need to be conscious about that. I would, again, like to ask you for your support and remind you to wear your mask and make sure you're distancing. If you want to know more about me, www.
Thank you, Doug. Your time is up. Naramson? You are muted.
Sorry about that. Thank
No
you so
problem.
much, John. Thank you to the NAACP, Wendy Bird. Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you for doing everything to organize this. The ACLU, thank you so much, Tom Crane. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the work you do. Thank you to all the candidates for enduring a pretty tough debate in a pretty tough forum. I hope everyone's doing well and staying safe. I'll work with members of our community to cut the tape for small businesses, address our affordable housing shortage, combat homelessness, and get good paying jobs. My uncle came to this country in 1975 and used to talk about how beautiful America was to my other uncles. And this was in Baghdad, Iraq. When he came here, he knew that this was the land of opportunity and the home of the brave. And I know I can give and get the, the resources that Modesto needs and deserves. And if you want to know more about me, please visit www.naramsonformayor.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Naramson. Rick?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for letting me be a part of this. Just listening to all the candidates, I'll tell you what, Modesto has a number of great people to choose from. And it was a pleasure being on here with all of you and hearing your thoughts and ideas. So for the last 40 years, I've been at Big Valley Grace, which is a ginormous church. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people consider it its home. Church people are not monolithic. They're all different kinds of people, backgrounds. And when you have that kind of diverse church, you have to be able to work with lots of people. I oversee a school of 850 students, over 150 employees, a $12 million budget that I have to balance every year. So it's obvious I got a lot of experience that I would bring to the table. But the greatest thing I think I bring to the table is this leadership, and leadership to maybe get some of the things done in our city that need to get done. And my lane has been, pretty narrow. I work with the church, if you will. And now as I have reached this, portion of my life, I just want to broaden my lane. And I now want to use all of those leadership gifts and abilities for all of the citizens in Modesto. And so I hope those of you that are watching out there would choose to vote for me, Rick Countryman. You'd pick Rick to be your next mayor.
Thank you, Rick. Ted?
Modesto must lead the valley by creating jobs for our citizens and taking advantage of the new ACE train connection. We must entice Silicon Valley technology from the Bay Area to locate here. We will preserve Modesto's agriculture heritage by merging it with the Silicon Valley technology, making us known worldwide as an ag technology center. Simply housing our homeless cannot continue without fixing the root cause of homelessness. Stanislaus County must be refocused on fixing addictions and mental problems before housing homeless can succeed. We must begin the search for a long vacant internal auditor position. Our budget has funding for them to start immediately, providing citizens assurance Modesto is financially sound. As mayor of this city, I represent and uphold the rights of all people in Modesto equally, regardless of their race, religion, or ethnicity. There is not a decision I make at City Hall without considering the best choice for all people of this city. Modesto is an example to the world as the home of organizations like we've talked about with the Clergy Council, who step up during tense citizen and police confrontations. No one should ever mistake us as a center for hate and intolerance. It is my prayer that Modesto remain a community of people who love each other and this city. I thank you for allowing me to share this evening with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. And Christy.
Thank you for putting this together. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy lives and schedules to get us all together to get our points across. I was going to read this other thing, but instead I'm going to say this. Authenticity, vulnerability, and imperfection. Let us all admit that we are all a work in progress. This means accepting accountability, recognizing our errors, and being willing to correct our paths when necessary. When we do this, we allow others grace and the ability to learn, change, and reason with others. Even when we don't agree, because of our interpersonal opinion, our culture, or our upbringing, our belief system must be set aside when making decisions for all. The role of elected a person means this: we are chosen by all, meaning we must consider all in all of our decisions because our decisions ultimately affect all. I will always stand up for the rights of the human race and protect you from chaos whenever I can. I ask that you back me in protecting the rights of others. I am your voice at City Hall. I ask you that you realize that we are heading into unchartered territory. We are going places we've never gone before. Now is the time to support your elected people. Engage in the activities at City Hall, get involved, and make a difference by voting in the next election. Preferably, I ask that you vote for me, Christy Ayu, for Mayor, Modesto 2020.
Thank you, Christy. And thank you all to all the candidates here today. This concludes my time as moderator. I turn it back over to our NAACP President, Wendy Byrd.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, this has been a very informative forum. Thank you to our interpreters, Wendy Mogg and Vincent James. Thanks again to our candidates, our co-sponsor, the ACLU, Angela Dallas and the NAACP Political Action Committee, Alex Castro, our timer, and a big thank you to Kate Trumpeter, our host and tech person.
Yay.
Yeah, great job.
All right, Kate. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Kate. You know, COVID challenges us to think outside of the box, and that's the one thing that is going to have in common with the next mayor. With that said, I'm going to say good night, and again, thank you all for your time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.